Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Angelo, for invitation to such an interesting event. So that's another Frenchman after Mr. Nallet, but I'm actually going to speak for a Chinese company about the Chinese market. I've spent a significant part of my life there, and I now work for a Chinese company called JD.com. Most of you have probably not heard about this company. It's normal. We just started internationalizing last year, okay? And I personally joined the company not even a year ago. My main point will be to say that e-commerce in China, driven by logistics innovation, is shortening cycles, and retailing, as very kindly transition by Mr. Nallet, retailing is bringing opportunities for the global dairy market because fresh is able to travel so quickly around the world now. So I really appreciated the slide by, there were many slides interesting this morning, but one from Lactalis was demand and offering global scale. Okay, you could see who has milk and who doesn't have on the planet. That was a very interesting slide. So, China first, there's been a number of slides there. Chinese are really buying a lot of things because they've been getting to know brands with a smartphone in their hand, basically. They've been coming together. In Europe, the brands have been there for a long time, and I would say internet and smartphone have come recently, so there's a gap and there's an adaptation to e-commerce. In China, it's been simultaneous in the last 20 years. There's been a boom in consumption, and smartphones were already there. So people are really very naturally using their smartphone to shop, to do the customer journey. So it's got a huge penetration, global share of global retail sales, and a number of online users. A few figures here. They're not so recent. I think it was published last year or something. But if you look at the grocery, I'm sorry, this is wider than milk, but it's still interesting. Grocery market, you see the growth, CAGR of 34% in China. It's already huge, and it's growing really to distance anybody else. We saw some other figures on milk consumption. If you look at grocery penetration, I think that's a very important one, and that will relate to the supply chain we will discuss a bit later. You see that it's already quite high at 3.7%. UK is higher, you know, Ocado, right? And you see South Korea, I think I have, yes, South Korea here is pretty strong already in terms of penetration, also due to a very digitalized retailing, I would say. And, but the penetration should grow to 11.9 in China, and that's really a huge figure in 2020. Okay, and the last one is about the size of the market, which is really huge. In, I would say, expensive consumer goods, of course, China is still a small market, except maybe luxury. But for grocery, it's already due to population, and it's a basic requirement. It's already, let's say, bigger than the US market probably by now. All right, so who is JD.com? Allow me to introduce, because it's really very little known. So it's a retailer. It's a retailer. It means they buy and sell and operate and fulfill in the middle, okay? That's a difference with the main competitor in China, which is called Alibaba, and that's mostly a platform, right? Doing intermediation between a buyer and a seller. So JD.com, just like Amazon, if you will, started by buying, not books, but let's say iPhone and electronics equipment, and then expanded to other categories. And with an improved supply chain, got into more and more fresh. So it's the largest retailer by sales, online, offline, in China. The sales last year were $56 billion US, up 40%. The growth rate this year is a bit lower, but still above 30%. Of sales. It's the third largest internet company, if you look by revenue, because of a retailer model. You have Amazon, 180 billion something, Google around 100 billion, then JD.com 56 billion, that's for last year, and Facebook was at 40 billion last year. So it's a huge company, but very little known. It's in Fortune 500 of NASDAQ. It has strategic partnerships with Tencent, the owner of the social network WeChat, that some of you probably know, and also with Walmart. And also with Google. That's a new one. I didn't update the slide. There's an investment of $550 million of Google into JD.com that goes together with all sorts of strategic partnerships. That's recent. That's a couple of months ago. And because it's a retailer, you know, the Chinese environment is a difficult one in terms of, I would say, product authenticity and food safety, right? You all know that, especially for milk. I think it's one of the most sensitive issues, maybe with skincare. And because JD has been buying and selling, and in between storing and owning the goods, it's got a reputation among Chinese customers, 300 million customers as of today, monthly regular customers, of being a reliable partner. So it's something, if you buy from JD, you can call JD and say, what about my product? That's a retailer. Right, so I've just mentioned the authenticity. So there's a self-operated network. We have 530 warehouses all across China. And we can deliver, that's quite amazing, over 90% of our orders, we can deliver same day or next day. If you order before 11 a.m., you've got it same day. If you order after, that's all across China, right? So we mentioned 300 million consumers. So it's a little bit like Amazon Prime, sorry for comparison, but for everybody, and part of global general service, basic service, I would say. So that's quite an incredible figure in the domestic supply chain. The typical customer base is urban residents, so it's a high basket size. JD.com is the largest seller of iPhones on the planet, okay? So JD has expanded the capabilities of logistics to fresh. And so we have called a logistics network. We were discussing yesterday at dinner. We are delivering Häagen-Dazs to your door. Basically, you order on the e-commerce, and we are bringing Häagen-Dazs to you wherever you are in China. 99% of population. So this is very requiring in terms of supply chain management. Häagen-Dazs is extremely strict on supply chain, cold chain, right? So there's a huge frozen food industry that goes on, volume that goes on. So one funny figure here, well, not funny for the lobsters, but we sold 140,000 lobsters in a day from Canada. There was an agreement with the Prime Minister of Canada, and then also with the government of Canada, and then this operation. So they came live from all across the planet and were sold to Chinese customers. Here you have again 1 day cherries, 185 tons. Okay. New Zealand kiwi, 160 ton, were sold in a day on March 14th, 2017. So these are actually world records, basically. Well, I don't know for all, but this one, I spoke to a number of seafood operators, and the supply chain, the supply of lobsters is fragmented today. Nobody is able to gather all this and to sell all this to customers, okay? So the supply chain is bringing new opportunities for fresh products. So we opened a physical supermarket in China because retailers from the e-commerce in China are now investing offline based on their technology and their flexibility compared to, I would say, rigid system of traditional retailing. They can be much more agile in inventing new concepts. So I give you just one example, is the hands-free shopping cart we have in this supermarket. You can see there. I've been there 3 times in Beijing. And you have a shopping cart, you take, like at the swimming pool, you take a little plastic bracelet, and then you're hands-free. It will follow you everywhere you go, and you put items in the cart, and automatically the cart knows what you put in. So you just go like this, hop like this, and then when you're done, you check out in a click on your phone, no cashier, and you can come out. So that's quite a nice innovation. It's the kind of innovations you can see in this line of business. So, what do we have? This is Baiju. I think there's a figure on milk here. Diapers, infant milk. Yeah, that's a significant market share for infant milk. Let me check my time. Whoops, 5 minutes. So 7 Fresh is this shopping experience. There's only 2 at the moment in Beijing, but we plan to expand in China and also beyond China, this shopping experience. Maybe. So dairy products, here is some figures you have from Chinese Commercial Information Center. So you know the Chinese love the big promotions where you have a lot of frenzy around shopping, okay? One is coming is the Double 11, it's the Singles Day. Another one is 618, is 18th of June. The French know it for some other historical reasons, but let's say contemporary, 618 is the anniversary of JD.com. So another figure to give you the fresh power of supply chain today. We sold this year 2018 during the 618 promotion. We sold 33 million crayfish, okay, which is a very sensitive fresh product. They're grown in China. It's more of a domestic operation, but 33 million, that's just an amazing figure. So during Double 11 last year, we sold 85 million liters of milk, probably much of it being domestic, for sure. We saw the production of China growing massively, but a lot of it being internationally sourced too. So that's it. So one little case study I wanted to show you. Maybe know Oldenburger. It's this milk company and operating in China for a long time. We've done a supply chain agreement. They were already in China, but they had a fulfillment issues because the country is huge. Those of you who know it, these are thousands of kilometers, okay? So we have, as I said, 500 warehouses, and we're very fast in delivering. Why is that? It's not because we have trucks that drive 500 kilometers per hour. It's because we have data. We have scale and artificial intelligence, so we basically can do AI to predict the sales in a given location, let's say Wuhan here. So we know what's going to sell next week, and we anticipate for that. And when the order comes, we just do from Wuhan to Wuhan. And that's why we do it in a day. So it's all about data, fulfillment anticipation, and the scale of China, as well as their appetite for technology, has made these incredible potential. Now, when you're in a company, you don't have that much of a scale, and so you're maybe stuck with your, let's say, 3 warehouses. So with the warehousing software and warehousing sharing cooperations, we've been achieving significant rates. You can see 98% fulfillment rate. They used to have 30% issues, so 70% fulfillment. So they had lost sales, okay, which we reduced because we used our algorithms to know where to position the products for next week's sales, basically. That's as simple as that. Okay. And one last thing I wanted to say here is that it's been mentioned, there's a number of initiatives going on for traceability. There will be dedicated sessions, I think, this afternoon. We have built with Tsinghua Daxue, which is a top scientific university in China, and IBM, Safety Alliance. We started with Mengniu, which is an operator of milk in Mongolia. I think it was a green circle. They are producing a lot of milk. So basically, when the cow is coming for slaughtering, it comes with some data from where it was raised, and from then on, every contributor to the chain will add to the ledger of blockchain. So I must say, when it came out, I thought it was a Chinese agreement, maybe not that open to the outside, but a few months later, an Australian dairy operator joined the blockchain platform. So that's for meat, not for milk. Huh? And then an American operator also joined the platform recently. The good thing is that if you're in the supermarket I mentioned earlier, you will just scan the product and there are digital screens and you get all the data from this blockchain coming in. So that's really great because we're talking a lot about the value of producers and how they can bring their value to the customers through the distribution. I think with this kind of data initiatives, you really can value what the producers want to say about the way their cows were raised. And that's an important driver of consumption. Oops, sorry, I'm expired. Thank you. Thank you very much.